An NBA reporter said something Trey Young definitely will not like. There wasn't a real market for Trey Young to be traded last year. The simple fact of the matter is, if there was a real market, he'd be somewhere else right now, which means nobody wanted him. And the Hawks now have an even bigger problem. They can't rebuild, even though they suck. The Spurs control their next 3 first-round picks. So if they bottom out, it only helps Victor Wembanyama. So what do they do now? Try to contend? We know what that looks like. If Trey Young is your best player, you're a play-in team. Not a finals threat, but what if he's the second or third best player? Well, several other NBA teams are asking themselves that right now. If Trey's value is cheap, then several teams could make an offer soon. So I want to look at which teams could save Trey Young and start an actual Hawks rebuild. But if you called the Hawks like 2 or 3 years ago, they would have laughed in your face and hung up the phone. Now they are begging for a good deal on Trey Young. So what happened? Well, they finally admitted 2 lies that they've been telling the NBA. But I am playing Underdog Fantasy, just waiting for the NBA to come back. It's even more exciting in the offseason with the NFL, college football, and WNBA, especially with streaks. It's their new game. It's a version of Pick'em where you pick high or lower and your favorite players or whatever game you're going to watch that night. But if you stack 11 in a row, you can 1000x your money. So let's get your streak started off right. First up is De'Erica Hamby, lower than 16 points. And then Jewel Lloyd, also lower than her 19.5 points. And best of luck if you were tailing those picks. Check out this updated map to see if Underdog is available in your area. Use my promo code AMHOOPS. It's a new offer, up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Plus, you get a free pick. I will be playing this for NFL Week 1. Again, that is promo code AMHOOPS. The first is that they won the Luka Doncic trade. Atlanta had Luka, but let him go for Trey Young on draft night. And for years, they said, we didn't lose that trade. But now everybody knows it was terrible. Then they acted like the 2021 conference finals run was legit. They got past the Knicks and the messed up Sixers to actually challenge the champion Bucks, but everyone knew it wasn't real. Some years a random team gets lucky on a run, like the Blazers in 2019 or the Pacers last year. But Atlanta acted like it was legit, set expectations of a contender. So when they lost in the first round the next season, they panicked, saying, well, we're supposed to make the finals. And they traded for DeJounte Murray, sent out Danilo Gallinari, and control of 4 first-round picks. Something you do to go all in, except they weren't an all-in team. They were lying to themselves. So instead of being patient for the perfect fit next to Trey Young, they got DeJounte, which blew up in their face. Now, they have a rebuilding team around Trey Young. Amazing young talent like Jalen Johnson, a decent amount of picks from the DeJounte trade, #1 pick Zachary Reese-Shea, but they can't fully rebuild because the picks go to San Antonio. So what can they do instead? Well, their 2 options are to go all in to help Trey get a superstar teammate or trade Trey Young. Now, I want to explore where Trey could go, but how good are the Hawks' young pieces actually? I mean, Bleacher Report says, in asking several NBA executives about the 2021 draft class, Jalen Johnson's name came up as one they are watching closely with his combination of size and skill. Teams would love to get Jalen. I mean, if Atlanta does decide to go all in to get help for Trey Young, they're not keeping Jalen Johnson. Dude broke out last year as one of the best young players in the Eastern Conference. 16 points, 9 boards, 3 assists, very good from 3, and just as Austin Reeves, how athletic he is, dude almost ended Reeves' career. Can't believe he actually showed his face after that. Then there's Zachary Reese-Shea. And who is the last #1 pick to get this little buzz? What is up with that? According to odds makers, the favorites to win Rookie of the Year are Reed Shepherd and Zach Edey, with Reese-Shea after that, tied with Alex R, Mattis Bazelis, and Dalton Connect. Even Reese-Shea's own teammate Trey Young said this to Paul George.
To be honest with you, and no disrespect to the guys that got drafted, I mean, from the outlook looking in, and some guys may surprise us, but a lot of us look at them as role players coming in anyway. We didn't like the last 3 #1 picks. You got Victor, you got like Ant Edwards, you got some big time names. None of these guys could be just role players.
I mean, bro, I appreciate being real, But imagine being Reza Shea and hearing that from your best teammate. So they could flip these pieces for a star to help trade, like Karl Anthony Towns or Jeremy Grant. But I think Trae leaving is more likely. The number one reason is his contract. Trae is up for an extension next year, and if he doesn't sign it, it becomes a Donovan Mitchell situation. Everybody said, oh, the Cavs have to trade Donovan Mitchell because Spider could just leave for nothing. But he re-signed and stayed put. That could happen with Trae Young. But do the Hawks even want to give him a max contract? I mean, if they do, it could become a toxic asset. In this new CBA, you cannot overpay guys or it kills your team. But if they trade Trae, that's somebody else's problem. So where could he go? Well, I want to name the top 3 realistic trade teams and one wild card that nobody is talking about. So the first is the Magic. Orlando's main addition this summer was Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, which was shocking because they need a point guard. Even Paolo Banchero said, we need a guy who can set the table and be reliable. We have a ton of talented guys who can make shots and make plays. I mean, me, Franz, Jalen Suggs, and I would rather be more of an offensive hub than the point guard, if that makes sense. Yes, it does. Trae is the perfect fit as a playmaker and a shooter, another big weakness for Orlando. Last year, Trae made a career high 37% from deep on 9 threes a game. That opens things up for Franz and Paolo. They're already a top 5 team. Trae puts them on another level. His main problem, of course, is defense, but the Magic were the number 3 D last year, behind only the Wolves and Celtics. Not enough people are talking about that. And the next team is the Lakers. Yes, LeBron would have to play off ball more, but this ain't a Russell Westbrook 2.0 situation, okay? Trae can shoot, unlike Russ, and he is one of the best playmakers in the league. This offseason, LA did nothing outside of Dalton Connect and Bronny James. Experts predict they are screwed without a big trade. But the good news, they've got picks and a young player that Atlanta wants in Austin Reeves. We learned that in the DeJounte Murray talks. But the Lakers are planning a future without LeBron James. And Trae plus Anthony Davis is a better big 2 than most. Obviously, Trae has his flaws, but it would take a desperate team like the Lakers to actually make this happen. But the third realistic team is the San Antonio Spurs. They have Atlanta's future draft pick, so SA can actually get Trae for cheap. But why didn't they do this trade already if they want it? Well, I think they turned down the trade last year to see if the price for Trae will dip even more if Atlanta has another bad season. The fit with Wemby is obvious, but the concern is off the court. Trae has been pretty tough to coach, and there are no tougher coaches than Greg Popovich. Also, we have yet to see Trae like sharing the spotlight with another star. Wemby is still developing, they don't want to rush that. But what if Wembanyama takes another leap in year 2 and still doesn't make the playoffs? At some point, the Spurs would have to acknowledge his timeline is right now. We need to take advantage of Wemby being on a rookie contract and bring in some high-priced vets. I still think that is the most likely trade. But what about this wildcard team? Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. Jamal Murray is showing signs of trouble. He was bad in the playoffs and struggled this summer at the Olympics. Oh, there's a reason they still have not signed him to his new contract. What if Denver is actually in the market for a new number 2 with Joker? And why not throw in Jokic's best Serbian teammate, Bogdan Bogdanovic? This trade would break NBA Twitter, and maybe Trae finally recaptures that playoff success from 2021. But another team that could struggle is the LA Clippers. They went all in for James Harden last year, then suddenly hesitated on Paul George. Well, now PG is in Philly and the Clippers are going into a new arena with the Beard and Kawhi as their big 2. If this blows up in their face, it will be an absolute nightmare for the Clips.